People need to realize that they are not just their bodies. People think they are bodies, and their bodies are damaged, or they are hungry, or they are desperate, or they have feelings or emotions, and they have all that. But they don't realize that it's something they have, not something they are.
In this current environment, I find it interesting over the decades how people fall into a level of awareness. Fascinating are the facets of possibility. Sensory perception, which would be under the category of clairvoyance, mediumship, channeling, is how I define it when I teach people these types of methods. When you are in a state of development, what made it so that you were very familiar with these skills, and then you realized your psychic abilities were so refined in being able to acquire information that makes it relevant for a message for an individual?
It took me quite a long time to realize that I had abilities to go out and teach people. I received a lot of messages and I had a lot of experiences and encounters when I was very young, but I didn't know and understand the importance of them until I was at school at a medium level grade and started to learn about religions and philosophy, and learned a little bit about astrophysics and things connected to space, and put it all together and suddenly realized, hey, I channel. I didn't know. I didn't realize it before. I channeled entities. I channeled higher beings. And I also realized that I was telepathically connected to some extraterrestrial beings of different kind. So it started bit by my understanding who I was.
Yeah, it's so fascinating when you get across that bridge. For me, it was I was not walking any path of awareness, and I literally stumbled across a channeling class due to the instinct of it, voices telling me to do it. And
Yeah.
within a few seconds, I was a lightning bolt of supercharged, emanated force, and Lao Tzu entered my body, and to this day is still my teacher. But it's so visceral. It's so from another place. It's like a heavenly source that enters the body that you are very familiar with, yet you had never been met with that type of potency before in your natural born life. It becomes so clear.
I think I remember and I understand exactly what you'll say, because I very clearly remember the first existence I had long before any incarnations, which was with one such divine being, as you mentioned, not with the same name, but we have all different names for divine beings, so you never know. But this was a light being, and when I was separated from this light being, I was very much aware of everything in these previous lives before incarnations. And then I forgot more and more and more, and I wasn't really reconnected until I was 10 years old in this life. And then it happened by some interesting just incident. I just, oh, what? He talks to me. Wow.
Yeah.
So I was a long time learning.
Yeah, it is. It seems to be, I mean, you feel like you're a student
Yeah.
in training. Very fond memories when I was 4 years old, first awareness, looking through
Yes.
through people's bodies, being able to be able to play with energy and see energy and recognize that that this is a facade. This is such a discernment of reality.
Yes.
It's just not true.
No, there are so many realities, and what we see seems to be more or less a projection.
Right.
So there are many dimensions to investigate.
Yeah, you know, it gets to a point where I'm very familiar with my relationship with my teacher, which I find we refer to it within Taoism, the dialogue to the monologue. So,
Yes,
you know, people become confused within sort of more Eastern practices. Everything has its own slice of heaven. So
yes.
immortality is crystallized in everything and it appears everywhere. So people get very confused coming from a more orthodox sort of Christian Catholic sort of perspective,
Mhm.
where it's an organized religion. That when I have a teacher that is an immortal and a god of thunder and a god of rain and a god of wind, that this could be even possible. Yet there are a dialogue to the monologue we refer to as the primordial mother, the one stream, the holy stream, the most potent evidence of perfection. And when you return that energy within a material state like this, miracles take place. The ability to transform something that is distorted and return it to its original state, where you have the ability to witness healings, manifestation, magic, all the types of fundamental excitement that you get from the supernormal, the paranormal, the things that are very supernatural. And that's just the world that you and I live in, my friend.
Yes, yes, it is. And I agree with you, because when I started teaching magic and healing, and I realized I could do it myself, I found not as you, a lot of heavenly teachers, but I had one, just one, what I call source, because it all emanates from a divine source of some kind. And it's still going on. It's a daily education, daily conversation, and also a daily transformation. And somehow I have a feeling that it is about going out from the beginning, so to say, and do a whole round of incarnations and then coming back. And I am on my way coming back home. But I need to teach a lot first and share with humanity what I've learned, what I have experienced. And I can say I think I learn more these days than I teach. I teach a lot, but I learn heaps from beings like you, of course, other colleagues who are more experienced, perhaps, and in different kinds of religions or philosophies. So there is a lot to learn, both from Buddhism and from Taoism, where I have learned heaps lately. There's also all the time more to take in and understand, to become more and more perfected, which I am not yet.
Yeah,
Far from.
I mean, it's a progression of self-realization.
It is, and still it's the same self,
Right, right. You know, I
same
mean,
soul, but say different realizations of it.
well, everything is an iteration of self.
Yeah.
Everything is another
Yes. Yeah.
fanning of another expression of self. But then the biggest thing that I love to remind people of, your participation is not required. And then people get a little, for what are you talking about? Well, all emanations of psyche or finite mind are nothing more than a distraction until you converge the intellect and the intuitive as one. This is a convergence that we refine within Taoism. and then the intellect becomes supercharged. Now you have access to everything, but you
Mm.
cannot be compartmentalized and separated, which is the dance that everyone has within a dualistic model.
Yes,
That
yes,
symbiosis between yin and yang is this tango, yet it comes from one stream. That's the deciphering, the sleuthy deduction of Sherlock to your Watson to
mm.
recognize human condition. You
Yeah,
enter the labyrinth of the finite mind and exit as a human being, a holy stream of beautiful sentience and empathy that is exuberant and ignites divinity with all things, returning it to whole. That is something that is the path of a Taoist alchemist and healer. That rite of
right,
passage is to remember how powerful this experience is and what you're capable of, but not being clouded by the manipulation of the mind as a separate entity. A mind is a impermanent, transitory
yes,
rat in a wheel type of scenario where you keep being diverted. The diversion
yes.
is real. That is the purpose of this. It's like a
Mm.
distraction from true self.
I usually regard mind as a function of the physical brain, whereas I regard consciousness as the function of of the soul,
Mm,
which we are.
mm, mm,
And also, I think the yin and yang symbol in itself indicates both the movement, the change, and also that it's just two faces of the same thing.
mm.
Uh,
One
like,
stream. Yeah.
yeah, it is the same thing, one stream, but you have to see both parts. But it's never divided. It's always one circle.
Well, it would seem that way, yet
Yeah,
the, the,
yeah,
the corruption of human conditions make it
yeah.
very distorted.
That's how we have learned it.
Well,
And
from
that's why we need to study other philosophies uh, to learn better. Because in the Western countries, uh, people know very little about religions, about philosophers from Asia or from uh, Africa or wherever. We are not. We are just, kept by the Christian church in a format of thinking which is very difficult to get out of.
well, yeah, I mean, if I was to summarize the metaphysics of Tao, which is the the animation of everything,
Mm,
how I teach it is the primordial mother is the source, which is the
yeah,
void. She
yeah,
animates consciousness. Consciousness animates the spirit. We refer to that as Shen. The Shen animates the energy. The energy
mm,
animates this material state, which is a lower frequential distortion of
yeah,
the same thing. So
yeah,
most people never really get past the material and the energy they play in it. I refer to it as the spiritual baby shit. I mean, they just stay there. They are not
mm,
able to conduct or even ignite their abilities because they're put in a prison of their
yes,
finite mind, and they are limited to a conditioning of authority. And from that authority leads you to constantly being submissive and not allowing yourself to open up to the true source of who you really are, which is this one stream. And that submissive behavior is ingrained within society. It's
yeah,
it's
yes,
a process that, and specifically within Chinese culture, because it's part of my lineage and an obsession of mine, because I've been a Taoist priest thousands of times. This
mm,
immortal state of crystallization is a repeatable experience. And for so much joy and bliss, this is where many people become perplexed or confused by, you're always in a servitude selfless mode. And
Yeah.
from that, as a priest, I will conduct myself appropriately and move myself into many fires that would not normally arise without my resonance in the mix. And from that resonance, you bring to the surface things that you hold deep in the back of your mind that you would never confess to or realize as the true pain of your struggle as a human being. And so from that deciphering, the charge you and I are getting right now for self-realization that ignites the body, you feel the chill, you feel the communion that we're having, which is a visceral thing. This is the energetic charge of divinity.
Yes.
And so when you get to that, I come across,
Yes.
people that are
I know what
very
you mean.
deficient,
I remember
murderers.
very well when I left religion behind. Source started to talk to me, and I felt very connected, and it continued all over all time. But I also think that I have some duty to try and behave and kind of, how should I express it? My English is too faulty. I try to behave as the priestess I want to become or want to be. I try to do that and to teach people and to help them, to heal them or express to them, express kindness, love to everyone. And as a result, the consequence of this, I became vegan. I don't kill. I don't kill anything anymore, not even plants. So I don't eat vegetables. I eat just fruit, berries, seed, nuts. That's it.
Yeah.
It's part of a purification, of course, but it is also part of a transformation.
Oh, 100%. We refer to that as way down, which is all external stressors. And then from that, you craft your skill and refinement and then move into nidan, which is internal. And
Mm,
internal merging of external internal forces
yep,
arise what we call nigong, which is the power of all things. And then the system becomes activated. We burn that into the body and it works independently of the mind, of any
yep,
stresses of a material state. So I always remind people when I activate these type of processes from an internal practice, it is
yes,
tangible. You're growing your own, you're birthing yourself from within. I've never experienced pregnancy or birthing of a child, but I always talk to my wife about the development of what we call the dantians, which are energy centers. They're energy elixir fields within the body that I burn in through the alchemical process, and
mm,
it's alive. So, my whole body is vibrating and oscillating right now. And if I was to give you a definition of what that feels like, you're driving a car down the street, you pull your car over, you get out of your car, you leave your engine on. That's what's going on inside
yeah,
my body right now, because
yeah,
it's a constant thing that doesn't require my participation. This is where people get really. Now, the finite mind will never bear fruit. It is a bankrupt, infantile sort of state until you actualize your pure power, your eternal immortal self as whole. That one stream is then when you recognize without fail through your conditioning process, you will return to a state of servitude and selflessness that you cannot fight with the mind. The mind is weak.
yeah.
The mind
I
will
agree completely.
never.
I agree to all that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I started to teach people the functions of the mind and consciousness, and that you can't use your mind for any higher purposes. But people don't quite get it yet.
Well, that's where the conditioning comes in. Like
Yes.
for me, I always start with a basement level understanding, which is you control your emotions don't control you. And people are like, what? Thoughts, feelings, and emotions are a very, very basic ingredient that
Yeah, yeah,
traps the human being and returns them to a condition that is very limited. Once you break free and are liberated from these three catalysts of basically pain and suffering, a
yeah,
prison of like overshadowing, oppression, depression, and in my business, possession, that's where you go. There's only 1, 2, or 3 phases of that. To
mm,
reclaim yourself, you must recognize that these types of things once, you know, grown in the body, because within the system I train people in, everything has a spirit. So you are within the five major organs of the body, dealing with emotion of virtue aspects of yourself. And by conditioning and purifying yourself, you return from the emotion to the virtue, and it blossoms as that holy stream as you condition it. And the more and more you put focus to it, the more and more it becomes an independent system that doesn't require you doing anything. You don't have to keep watering it. The more and more your attention and intention, which is what we call the secret source, the Shen Gong, the spirit power,
yes,
that you cannot actualize anything in this material world without evoking and emanating and embodying the spirit as whole. That's where
right.
you have dominion over the energy. So
Yes,
that's
yes,
really important that people get these things clear so that they can experience to their maximum, not when they're transitioning at the end of their human timeline going, oh, it's so much brighter than I thought. That doesn't have to, that doesn't have to be the case. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I think you're perfectly right. I mean, I think most people I have gotten who have written to me or who have asked me by phone or consulted me for all these years. I mean, I'm fairly old. I'm 80.
You look
So
amazing. I mean,
I've seen and heard a lot.
your Jing, we call the Jing the constitution of what you were born into this material state
Mm,
with, is very
yeah,
strong, very strong.
yes.
The
And
roots of
I
the tree are very powerful. Just observing, that's all. Not telling you anything. I'm just observing.
Oh, I'm happy for you telling me anything that I didn't know before. But what I would like to say is I meet so many people in all kind of situations, and the more I hear, the more I see, the more I realize that we have to start from the very beginning with helping people because they have either been misled by their governments, or they maybe cannot read at all, or maybe they have heard got some false information from others, and people need, as far as I understand it at least, maybe you will correct me later, people need to realize that they are not just their bodies. People think they are bodies, and their bodies are damaged, or they are hungry, or they are desperate, or they have feelings or emotions, and I have all that. But they don't realize that it's something they have, not something they are. So I try to help them to realize that the people are a lot more than their bodies. That's the basic things I teach. And so, of course, if people are interested, I go on and talk about how we can use our consciousness to connect to higher beings, either they be extraterrestrials or angels or gods or what have you. It doesn't really matter, but you can't do it with your body. And people just say, oh, look very surprised because they think mind is all. because that is what we are taught at school, at university, in seminars, wherever you go. It's all about the mind. And I say, no, it's not about the mind. It's about consciousness, being conscious, being aware of who you are and what you are, because there are two aspects to everyone. I think both who you are and what you are, because you are your message or you are your mission. That's not exactly the same as your present identity. So my job is very primary, I should say. It's easy and it's difficult because most people are so misled, though they have such a great potential. It's such a waste, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, for example, something as simple of an awareness like what someone will refer to as astral projection out of body experiences.
Yeah.
These are very much just a tentacle, an extension of self. I think what people get confused with when I teach that, which is called Shen where
Yes.
you're able to project yourself into everything.
Yeah, I know. I've taught astral projection for years. I know what it is.
And so that fundamentally is moving from dualism to non-dualism to centric to non-centric. So the perfect formula, how we evoke the Wu Ji, the primordial mother, the holy stream, which returns everything to whole.
Mm.
This is the center point that you must walk through. And once you walk through that, through what we refer to as the sacred breath, the respiration is where you find your internal power. There's nothing more potent than that, but you must actualize it. There is a fundamental system. When met with that, you can pull on the tapestry of the material world and alter it and return it to whole. And so when you walk through that center point, the vesica, what happens is you recognize you're all things and nothing at the same time. This is the paradox and the effects of what we call the great bellows, where you're contracting and expanding at the same time. You're all things and nothing at the same time. And this is where power arises, and return to self, return to holiness, return to that stream that then shows you evidence of heaven on earth. This is the potency of such. And I'm sure you have a similar practices that would refine that type of like essence. But this is where most people refer to Taoism, and they talk about this phenomena called Wu Wei. And Wu
Yeah.
Wei in of itself is actualizing the spirit, and we refer to this as immortality crystallized in the material.
Yes.
That way, you are now all of a sudden holding a resonance that precedes the mind, precedes all things within a material world, and then you're able to literally, you're riding on this wave of serendipitous synchronistic moments that we refer to as Wu Wei. Effortless action, effortless effort has been generated from this. And this is a conditioning. This is where you drop the intellect and you fall back into a state where you are mastering this potential, this currency, this electric potential, which is called energy, that is vibratory, frequential, and ultimately holds resonance. Once met with that through your own beauty, looking through the lens of the maternal mother and returning to that power of holiness, you can acquire what has always been yours. But we must decipher that and return to that, as you say, through your nutrition from an external way down state. You are bringing in something that has never left you, because it's always been an internal emanation.
Yes.
And without the distraction of these other things, your evidence of potency will always return to that.
You know, I wish very much that a Qigong, which is taught in the Western part of the world, would contain a little part of all your knowledge, because we mostly just we learn to breathe, and we learn the postures, and we learn how to move, and so on and so on, and a little bit about what it means. But all this very, very profound knowledge, which would help a lot of us, is not comfort. It's not taught in at least not in Europe where I learned. I mean, I tried a bit Tai Chi, I tried Qigong for a couple of years, but I didn't get correct instructions how to use it and what it was for and what the philosophy behind it was. So I feel right now that I think it could have been a lot more effective if I had understood the spiritual aspects of it already when I learned it. But this is many, many years ago now. But I more and more come to understand that the spiritual life, our spiritual lives, are kind of underdeveloped because we have, first of all, we have kind of left that to the church to govern and to administrate. So we don't have to be spiritual at home. We are spiritual when in church, which is absolutely hopeless. Uh, you can't you can't live like that. But like that, it's an anomaly. And then spiritual thinking, spiritual life as a concept is not very much in use. When you read the papers, you read books, you talk to people, when you start to talk about your spiritual life or spirits or anything out of the perfectly normal physical world, they just stare at you and think, you're nuts, I don't want to talk to you, and just go away. So as I am so much, I have to learn. I tell you this, I haven't told anyone this before. You're the first I can confess to. I have to learn to be a human because I think that is extremely difficult. And I feel like an alien among others. And I don't feel at home here. I've never done. Also, as a child, I went alone into nature to find my friends. There were trees, there were water, there were bushes and flowers and grass and things, and animals, wild animals. I made friends with them. I could talk to them, and that was my family. So already as a very small child, I felt very strange, very much. I'm not from this world. I don't really like people. I had very much difficulty to learn to love people, humans, because I thought that's a very strange bunch of people who kill each other. I couldn't quite get around that. And it's still within me, a feeling of being different, a feeling of being not quite from here, of not belonging. So I've always, since I was about 8, 10 years, I've been more in the spiritual realm amongst uh, spirits of all kind. Either I've done magic, healing, or just talked to source, or been in discussion with angels or whatever they are. And it has continued all my life like that. I still feel some strangeness when I am among people. I don't I don't understand that I am one of them. I suppose this is foreign to you.
No, not at all. I mean, it's an acquired taste to accept a self-deprecation, a maiming of self, a masochistic desire of cannibalizing. This is something that is unique to human beings, and they can go from one massive extreme to another on this polarizing like spectrum. and
Yes.
other sentient beings are not subject to this type of manipulation from the mind, so they don't have the ability to truly, you know, by natural order, we stay in the flow. That's really the depth of understanding within Taoism. The natural order is Wu Wei. The natural order is we all can exist as one in this same plane. When you bring in the mix, the idea of a human being with what they consider their own free will, which is a misnomer, they tend to manipulate. They want to conjure and manipulate whatever that system is to acquire more authority over others, more power, more manipulation. This is the foundation of whenever I, start to do these types of things. Being a priest over 30 years, 30 years ago, when people would ask me, what do I do? I'm a Taoist priest. Well, what does that consist of? Well, it's fundamental things like exorcisms and refinement, transformation, healing. And so when people freak out when you go an exorcism, what does that mean? Well, I'm observing a succubus feeding from 3 or 4 streams of your whole mental, emotional state that will make you feel physically tired. And they're like, yes, how do you even see that? Well, this is part of a refinement of a skill you would refer to as a clairsense. I just call it sensory perception. I see all these things with my eyes open. I have a kaleidoscope of images that are always running in the background. All I do is put my attention, intention to it and refine the information at my own pace. If I'm and people are like, is that overwhelming? When it first happened to me, yes, I felt like I was I had the 7 days and nights of every thought, every feeling, every emotion coming down upon me like the world's weight in pressurizing the physical body. And it was what someone would equivalently call a dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
We refer to this as a breaking. And so by the 3rd day, I honestly wanted to end my own life because I couldn't make sense of it. At that time, my teacher was not available because in those days, back in the 80s, there were only rotary phones. There's no such thing as a cell phone or Google or finding out something about something. It was just you and your own experience. And that was a measurement. I would try to distract myself and walk into a movie to just watch a movie, and something as benign as a naked woman would come on the screen, and I threw up in front of on the person in front of me because it was such a visceral response of turbidity that was taking place in the center point of who I am. I was cleansing everything. Everything was arising and transmuting and then recycling as a holy stream. And from that, you come to you meet your own maker. Your self-realization is absolutely on the line at that point.
Yes. That's what I hope will happen when I do exorcism on others.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like something. Every time I do it, it looks like something out of the movies. They will absolutely unravel. Their whole body will contort, and everything vocal will come from that dantian, that 5th center of energy that most people refer to as the 5th chakra. All of that unravels internally as you expel these nothing short of dark, ominous demons, whatever you want to call it. They are feeding from the stream of this person. This person is nothing more than bait. It's bait.
Yes, I know. They are feeding from us, and it is really important to help people understand that and liberate them from these demons and whatever it is. It's so widespread. It's so many who are unknowingly. When I talk about demons, people say, "Oh, I never met a demon," and then I can. They do. They honestly think they have never met a demon because they think demon is something external from them, something far away, something terrible. And I say, I can see them inside you, and people don't believe me. But normally, I can remove them from their
They
bodies.
will see the physical evidence,
They will, but they don't understand what's happened. They think
well,
it's difficult. People are very uninformed.
yeah. I mean, you have to explain to them this succubus is feeding using your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I would go straight to the weakest link of that particular individual. By reading their energy, I would see that, oh, this
Yeah,
particular person, the tipping point, the focus of attention would be spleen. Someone else, it may be liver, it may be lungs, it may be heart.
yeah, maybe anywhere in the body.
Well, specifically, they feed from the vital organs that keep the system alive.
Sure,
So
because it
very
sustains them too.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a sustaining theme until otherwise noted, because the more they can permeate the mind, the more
Yes,
they emanate thoughts, feelings, and emotions that are then captured by others within a resonance.
right.
So the faster you condition them and unravel the succubus, the quicker the liberation, the return to self. And I mean, I've never met an exorcism that doesn't take me more than 30 seconds. Outside of one case that was like 34 years ago, where it took me about 3 hours to completely recalibrate someone's home, and then the entity that had been harbored there over 40, 50 years
Yes,
was feeding from the whole family. But that's
yes.
for
And
once, never again. Yeah.
I think it's also that is a sign of when people talk about, hey, can you come and help? It's so spooky in my home. It is very much the effect of these incubi and whatever demons there are who are in the flat or in the house, and they feel it, but they don't know what it is. You just think it's a ghost or something like that, and they don't realize it's inside of them. They don't realize at all what it is.
Yeah.
One has to be very thorough and explain to them that this what you have in your home is part of what is inside of you, and vice versa, and it has to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
After that, if you do the exorcism, it could take a few seconds only.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean,
then
it's a
and
liberation.
then they have the results, and they will have to process the results. I can't stay during all that period, but I sometimes have contact with them after, and they say, "Oh, it was so wonderful. These and these things happened after, and I feel very different now." So the process works, but in your society, in your surroundings, I think people are much more aware of both of the positive and negative sides of things than we in the West. We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just have our fears. We
Yeah.
don't know what we fear.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I think there's a great difference.
oh,
I,
100%. I mean,
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
delusion. Most people tend to believe there's something they're not. And that
mm,
comes from the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that derive from environmental absorption, and then
yes,
corrupt the system. You corrupt the
yes.
system.
And we have world leaders everywhere, and they want two things. First, they want to survive. Second, they want personal power, and that's it. And they can do absolutely anything to get this power, to stay in power and to become more power. And people, normal people, look at these people, say, hey, they have much power. We want power too. We want to we want to become as they are, and so on. That's a very, very dangerous way to organize a society, because people are gullible if they are not educated. But if you teach them and tell them this and that and so, they are much more likable to find a path that leads to their own higher spiritual development, instead of just walking around and feel miserable all the time, which so many people do nowadays.
Yeah, they don't recognize that their normal is abnormal.
Exactly, on the point. And I suppose part of your mission is to help people understand this, and to help people to change or to become themselves again, more or less. And my mission is very similar. So I think we walk different paths, but I think both paths and all paths in the end lead to the same source. If that's where we want to go. If not, it will take a lot more time.
Yeah. I mean, it's how what's your level of entry. From a dear friend of mine, Tom Campbell, he refers to it as an entropy level, more a scientism based sort of like understanding of these basically emanated states of dualistic process. So your trippy
and
level.
I have
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have the idea, I don't know if you agree, that the scientists have come up with a very interesting conception, which is the 0-point field of consciousness, which scientifically is a yeah, it's a physical construct. But if you go to it in reality, if you are there in this field in reality, you can dip into absolutely everything. You can connect to all everything, absolutely everything, to source, to humans, to animals, to plants, to whatever you like, to spirits of all kind, even to aliens, as they call them. They are not alien to me, I suppose, when I am one of them. But anyway, I feel this field of consciousness is a metaphor for understanding how to reach source and how to be there. So I think they've come up with something very, very useful.
Well, it's an interesting contemplation. I mean, the phenomenon of 0 point from a Max Planck unit perspective,
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that convergence where Einstein discovered the spooky action, the bending of reality that freaked him out, and he probably went to his grave, probably wishing that he never discovered these types of phenomena. Now it's really clear that he was right on the mark on something that is.
yes, yeah. And they later, Hal Puthoff and others took it further in the 70s.
Well, and within Taoism, we've been very clear of this alchemical process for probably hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's same, but we call it something else, and we haven't been aware of it in the West.
Well, what? Oh my goodness, who is this?
It's not my phone. Must be yours.
I don't know how that happened. Sorry about that.
Never mind.
The
Proves you are human.
Yeah. So what is that? Okay.
We were talking about the field.
The 0 point. So for an alchemy process, we have this specific rite of passage where we alchemize the Dantians, and from drawing the primordial mother's pure transmutation of self, because she is the void, the absolute. And
Yes.
from her breath, she ignites what we call yang, the evidence of the material world. Once you pour that light in, the light into the internal alchemical process, that light hits the heart dantian, and that fire from the heart dantian burns into the death of a star, the rising of what we call the red phoenix, and evoking black hole energy, which is an absolute. And so from that, you are activated to pull that stream, which in many theories of everything, that black hole energy has become a phenomenon where it's beyond the light spectrum of this material state, and it's in a whole nother sense of awareness. Now, when they start bringing these theories up, and I think there's a guy by the name of Nassim Haramein that has this theory that he believes he has the receipts for, that this is the super glue. The black hole energy is within everything. This is a super glue of this entanglement that they refer to as the zero point. The eclipse of the event horizon of a black hole is where you enter into this absolute potency of 0 point, which then gives you, abilities. Now, for indigenous practices like the stuff I teach people, this is very much part of the rite of passage. You condition yourself to access this energy that returns you to the stream, because within Taoism, yin is nothing more than the absorption of all colors. Yang is the emission of all colors. And your purpose of conditioning is to merge the convergence of the two as one, to evoke your eternal immortal stream, that magnetism that is pliable within this material state, where you can pull at the tapestry and literally alter things and return them to whole.
Yes. Yeah. I recognize what you say. I understand it. And I think in all books I've read and all teachings I've acquired, I think it is there, but it is said in a different way and with other names and words. But it is essentially exactly the same as you say. Only we have so many different expressions and words for it. So I think the only really, because all religions has its own ways of naming things, as you know, I think our own common, really exact language is the language two ways: the language of maybe the researchers use the language of science, or we can choose the language of consciousness, which has no words at all, which is absolutely void of everything, and then one can connect. I have chosen that way. I'm teaching and learning in a scientific way, but I practice in other dimensions. I practice always by connecting in that field of nothing, so to say, because that's only possible way, as I've found, to connect to higher beings. They are on a higher frequency than I am. I have to raise my frequency, and maybe they are able to lower their frequencies, but not as much as needed. So I have to kind of find them where they are. And the only way I can do it is to get up into another better frequency and find them in this common field of consciousness where we are all one. This is a bit hard to explain to normal people, common people, but I try. I think it's a good way to do it, and I'm trying to teach others to reach that level, but it has to do with dimensions, it has to do with frequencies. People don't like to leave the security in their own thinking, their own lives, their own homes. They are a bit scared of new things that sound very, strange and alien. And when you start talking about magic or alchemy and spirituality, people just get off.
Yeah,
That's my experience. So we but for my personal experience, I have not had any teachers lately. I had when I was young. I had one of the archangels, so-called archangels, teaching me when I was young. A guy called San in I think it's in Judaic and Christian iconology or mythology as well. And he or she, it's neither he or she, it helped me a lot. But when I had some experiences, approximately could be 30 years ago or so, he said, "Okay, I leave you now. We'll meet later in next life or after your death or so." So I haven't had any teachers around me since then, but I had this connection to Source always. So I trust I get what I need from there, and I feel more and more happy with it because I can feel that I don't lack anything. I mean, I don't have physical resources, but that's not a question. I get what I need to do my job. And I think it's absolutely necessary to have such a connection. As you also talk about, you have, of course, and you probably had for I don't know how many incarnations.
Well, for the main goal for any Taoist is to return to such. It's not to be handheld. It's like self-knowledge,
Yes, yes, I know.
self-gnosis, and ultimately unlocking the wisdom that is truly the most potent. And when you get that from source, we refer to it as the primordial mother. I refer to it as the Akashic records, the source, Tao, Buddha, God. However you find it, you will have evidence within this material world that this is true.
Yes, I know. I have had access to the Akashic records. I know about it. I have personal experience of its existence. I know very well. Everything is there. Everything. And if you have access to it, you can always find what you need to find. Not to what you want to find, but what you need to. That's very different.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's and that conditioning. So speaking of channeling, which is one of
Yes.
your mastered states, what is the messaging you're getting from your source and where things are going for humanity? You know, my teacher Lao Tzu always, he finds it funny when human beings ask the question because they're so enamored by their own self-consumption that their need to find out where they come from, where they're going, and who they are as the three major ingredients. Yet a state of being does not require, whenever I've witnessed physical, mental, emotional healings, and I've seen it all, like gangrenous flesh turn back to pink in color, tumors disintegrate,
Yeah.
gashes seal before my very eyes. I am not of anything, but I'm everything. So there's no there that astral state of what I refer to first person, third person, and then no person is divesting yourself from body centric perception. That consciousness that's animated by the mother is a perception using the body as a lens of emanation, as opposed to you are everything. So when witnessing these types of things, I'm of nothing. No, there is no, you know, Bambi drinking from a stream out in the middle of some forest somewhere is not going, my name is John Smith, and you know, I've got a few commitments I have to make after I drink from this creek. I need to go home and get my finances in order and go and gather, you know, nutrients for the family. It's just the moment. It's the present moment. Past, present, and future are converged as one. All they're doing
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
embodying the stream of water as a form of nourishment. And that's how they're operating, free of intellectual distortion, because that's
Mm.
not part of their makeup. They are just there. Everything comes from the body. If you're thinking, you're not knowing. If you're knowing, you are feeling. That emanated state is the tuning fork within this material world. You are here to tune this body as a divine dowsing fork of recognizing who you
Very good expressions. Yeah, I like that. A tuning fork. That's good, really. But you were asking about me channeling.
Yes.
Um, as you say, all past, present, and future is compressed into one. It's the past is always with us. The future has already happened, only we haven't yet seen it or realized it. It's not materialized yet, but it's there. So channeling is about open up to the future or to other dimensions and see what there is, not what's going to happen because it's already happening, but we have something very odd which we call time and space, which is a bit confusing because it isn't. It's a construct. So time doesn't really exist, according to my understanding, but it is a construct we use to explain cause and effect. And space is something that divides us, and there is no division, so I don't accept it either. I think it's all the same, all of it, all of us. We are just we are just parts of the divine source or goddess or whatever name we have for her. So when I channel, I just open up my consciousness to the required the dimension or part of it required. And I just look at it and see what there is. And so I can tell people, well, there are dire times coming. There are hard times. We will have difficulty for some decades. And at the same time, when these bad things happen, which they come, because it's already been prepared. It's just waiting for the right time to appear. Then, at the same time, a very beautiful, loving energy is growing. So it's the yin and yang again. When this one gets too oppressing, we can feel that the good one is growing more and more and going to kind of take over the rule of the world in not more than, say, 60, 70 years ahead. And we'll have a quite different, very different society. We will finally, as far as I have been informed, leave a lot of misconceptions behind. We will also lose a lot of people because they will die or they will be transformed or they will go to other realms or they will be picked up by alien spaceships or I don't know what. But a lot of very, very mature young beings will come, will be born and are already there and will take over and teach us if we are still around, which most of us are not, but teach next generation how to live according to nature's principles and to cosmic law. And I think that will join people and both within and outside of religious and philosophical concepts, so we can all become a human civilization again. But we have to leave these false concepts first, and it hurts a lot. Lots of wars and damage and all that, and deaths and everything. But that's physical, and it passes.
Yeah.
And with a new concept, I think people people will accept that everything, like it's like being sick, being ill. You have a fever, but you need to have that fever in order to conquer the bacteria or whatever it is. So when that is gone, you are well again, but feel better, and you are different somehow. This is very much more different than coming back from a fever, but you know, I think it's still something, maybe a way to explain to others what happens. So I see a lot of other things also. I can see back in time and the future and other dimensions, but that's not relevant right now. So we're talking about about the future. So I see what happens, but I don't go into details right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Lao Tzu attributes it to the waffling of the finite mind. And so when people are consumed by their exterior or
Yeah.
extra consumption of environment,
Yes.
it always returns to the same thing. Imagine you're like a grain of sand, asking the beach, "What are we doing today?" Fall back into the beach and be realized.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so this is a kind of phenomena. I'm never tired of the childlike excitement that I get when he speaks these words of wisdom that cannot come from any humanistic phase of awareness. It has to be a holy stream that makes it such that you can really have a 40,000-foot view of what is truly transpiring. And that, again, is a form of manipulation. The more teaching that you and I share from a mastered state, the more awareness that society becomes clear that they are being commandeered by their thoughts, feelings, and emotions due to their environment. And I always
Yeah.
remind people, when you're emotional, you're suggestible. You know,
Yes,
as
that's true. It's very
as
true.
as simplistic and basement level kindergarten stuff, I like to teach people the fundamentals of what most people would be considered as a hypnagogic state, where
Mm.
trance is nothing more than your own ability to to pin a stream of awareness and enter that. And so through the processes of the trance, even if I'm using myself as your concierge to enter your own sense of awareness, for me to change that state by showing someone that I can erase their name from their mind, and I turn myself into Justin Bieber as shape-shifting, and they're still consciously awake with their eyes open,
Yeah.
that freaks them out. But this
Yeah.
is where the rubber meets the road, and the ability to garner and gather these facets of self, and they're all iterations of everyone's innate ability to return to holiness. And if that can
Yeah.
happen in a fraction of a second, because I'm not someone who subscribes to the fundamentals, because all I do is turn on a resonance, and you will just meld into that resonance and return to it. It's not a suggestibility thing. If I ask someone if they want to experience bliss, that's a charge of holiness that takes place. They would fall into that. If I'm teaching someone fundamentals, I have 6 kids, so I teach them all this magic and telekinesis and
Mm.
pyrokinesis and all this
Yeah.
kind of training, telepathy, channeling, all this stuff, but they learn it from the basement level. The first thing everyone needs to realize is, if you're emotional, you're suggestible. And from that, you can understand the convergence of conscious and unconscious process. Then merging and melding those two as a holy stream raises your state of vibratory frequential resonance that
Yes.
makes it possible for you to to alter the material. But and
Right.
otherwise noted,
Which
it's
we call alchemy.
yes,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Exactly. And I remember very well from um, some lectures I had, and I was um, I was channeling John the Baptist, if you know who it was,
I don't know who that
a
is.
precursor of Jesus.
Yeah.
He was baptizing people and telling, wait for the master to come and so on. He
Mhm.
was he lived a little bit over 2,000 years ago, and he came in through me and wanted to be heard and said, and so I channeled him, and I heard while I sat there, I heard people in the audience just saying, "Oh, wow, oh." So I thought, what the heck happens? And his face apparently appeared upon my face. So they saw him instead of me for a long while I talked with his tongue. And he had the possibilities to express himself to this audience. It was quite a strange thing to experience because I didn't see it myself. I was told after this and that happened. I wasn't aware of him coming through physically like that, and his face was so visible. But I realized at that time that we have such wonderful spiritual, I think I call it spiritual abilities. We can do things, we can heal, we can help, we can change, we can move to anywhere, any place, see anything we want. We are absolutely divine from the beginning. And now I think it is time to take back that divinity and start again being the humans we were meant to be. I think that your religion or philosophy um, is a precursor. It is something that tells about these things and how to return to the mother, how to being born and do the things we are come to do and come back to the mother again and start this whole thing again as a yin and yang movement of incarnations and lives and what we do. But this is a concept that very few people seem to share with me in the Western world. So I sometimes feel quite, am I very strange? Am I something else? Am I from somewhere else? Because there are so few others. But when I have get letters from people all over the world, I realize there are some who know as much as I do. There are even some who know a lot more than I do and understand even more and have stopped using their minds and have started using what I would call their high minds, their souls, their spiritual part to develop, and that makes me very happy. So there are still people who can teach me a lot more because I need to be taught in order to be able to teach the truth.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I have no physical teacher on earth, so I need to rely on what I learn from source or every day.
I mean, isn't that the absolute?
It's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
It's both um, a duty and at the same time a pleasure, but not physical pleasure. It's a spiritual pleasure to be of service
Mm.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Effortless, effortless.
effortless action, effortless effort.
Yeah, completely.
Always such, always such. This has been an incredible conversation today, my friend.
It's a lot of learning from my part. I have a lot to learn from you. You seem to be a very wise priest and teacher.
Well,
I just, I
I'm a
must.
I'm as dumb
Get-
as a bag of rocks. It's just whatever Lao Tzu transmits from me that day. I am nothing more than a concierge, an ambassador to this information, and it streams through me as such. I don't ever attempt to try and obtain this. I just observe it and then with gratitude appreciate.
I I know, but I think you are in yourself part of that stream. You are the stream you tell about. You are the stream that goes through you. So you in yourself, I don't know what word for it, but I think you constitute that stream, and you make it human and understandable to our higher minds.
And so do you, my dear friend, and so do you.
Thank you. It is really an honor to talk to you. I'm so happy to have had this chance. I've
Oh, it's
learned a lot, and I see there is quite many similarities that have to be somehow to overcome and become one teaching, one truth, one way, one path for us all to meet on.
and that's the purpose of self, is to reunite.
I know exactly, and we will one day, all of
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
because we are already one. We just have to be aware of it and act as if.
1,000,000%. So
Yeah.
I'm going to put your social sphere and interweb under this podcast. I want
Yes.
people to go out and find your wisdom teaching. You're available for one-on-one session, group session. What is it that you offer the audience right now?
As a matter of fact, I have, during the last year, been writing a book about the consequences of climate changes, the social and political and economical consequences of it, and how to act when it hits you. I'm just finishing that book right now. I got it back from the publisher. She wants a lot of changes in it. Apart from that, I'm open to anything. People ask me to come and lecture. People ask me to do a pod sometimes now and then. I've done 10 now, this 2 last months. But I have not, and I'm working on a new website which will be launched in January 1st, where I will put down all my meetings, my lectures, papers to offer for sale, and all that. So it will be on my website, which is logosacademy.com. You
Okay.
can reach it there. Um, I can privately write it to you after, so you get it
Yes, yes. So I'll make
correct.
sure that all of that's available so people, because these
Yes,
conversations are experiences, they're visceral.
yes,
I'm
yes.
enjoying the incredible oscillating and humming of our union in this conversation, and it is, it's emanating as one source. It is
Yeah,
potent,
yeah.
and when I look at you, I have to turn away because of the brightness that comes from self. The potency as your emanated self is just one big illuminated state, which is so beautiful because you witness that as someone conditions themselves. There are certain levels of entry that you acquire, and it shows through their emanated state, and you can't make that up. It's a uniform.
No, I know. I originated from a being of light. So I always carry that light within. It has been a long way to realize that, to accept it with humility, but also with strength.
Well, humility is the distraction.
Yeah,
Idea that you have to bend your knee to a moral compass is only part of your own conditioning from self as broken to disconnecting, detaching, and then reattaching as a whole string. And from that, you get distracted by the moral engagement that is the finite mind, the realm of man, persistence to downgrade or degrade you from yourself by putting you in a little box and calling you, you're not special, you're just the same. But we are all special, we all come from the same stream. Once you desensitize yourself from such, the end result is the servitude and selflessness, which you cannot fight. It doesn't come from any conjured up process. It becomes the emanation of self, the embodiment of self, and it comes through this physical tune.
Yes, right. Exactly. I think for the moment, I feel only gratitude for gifts given and thoughts exchanged and everything that happens to me. I feel the only feeling I have is gratitude. I think that is an okay emotion.
Yeah, I mean, they're all okay. It just you will release the need to control or create a rule set that you have to abide by.
No, I don't abide by anything but source.
I love it. Yeah.
That's...
Well, I want to thank you, my dear friend. This has been absolutely a magical gift from the heavens to commune with you in this conversation. And I'm very grateful for all the wisdom that you teach and everything that you walk within your path of sharing this to raise the conscious collective on planet Earth and ultimately affect humanity's course to not eradicate itself and help it return to a place of homeostasis, not extinction.
If I can be a small part of that, I'll be very happy. And I'm very happy to hear to be in your presence and become friends on a spiritual level, I think. And thank you so much for having me. And I really hope to see you again sometime. It's been a very different experience this time. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Carina. And for all the audience that are going to come and check out all the communications of where you can find her and her teaching will be under this podcast. So I want to thank you, my dear friend. I want to thank the audience. I want to thank the universe for bringing you into my life. And I am your humble servant and seafood Taoist Master San Qing. I'll see you in the next one, guys.